Gonna be this way. Swim so free.
A Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
What if you found a portal to a parallel universe? What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home?
Hello and welcome to a new edition of Tune In Next Week, the podcast where we break down TV shows of yesteryear for you, the listener. I am your host, and with me is my other host, John. Hey, John.
Hey, and you must be Brian.
I am Brian.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Feeling good, feeling great. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing, and everything else is just gravy.
Yes, feeling good this week.
That's right. We both had some time off for recuperation, so we're both feeling better.
Not that you, the listener, would know.
That's right.
Because we got it like that.
Because we're good like that. But
yes.
Anyway, we are here doing a very interesting show that I will be honest with you, I have never seen a single episode of until tonight.
Had you heard of it?
And it, by the way, we're referring to Sliders, for those who may not have recognized the theme song coming in. I had heard of it, yes, but the plot never really, it didn't grab me or anything. Like the type of show was, I was into sci-fi stuff when I was a kid, but you know, the whole idea behind Sliders was just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, you know, but it never grabbed me as something to watch. What about you?
For me, it grabbed me. I loved the show, but it was on at, for me growing up, it was on at weird times, and I was not ever able to watch it consistently. But this was one of those shows that always stuck with me. I like this as much as Star Trek, as much as any other show that we've covered already. This is one of my favorites because of the concept.
Yeah. I have to say, it's extremely unique.
Yes.
You know, I think it's a great idea. You know, the whole idea of just being able to kind of jump between alternate versions of your existing world, you know, and here, before I even went into this, I was, you know, I didn't really do very much research or anything into it because I wanted to go into the viewing of the episode with as much of an open mind as possible. You know, I was expecting, like, you know, going to alien planets and going to, like, you know, because you told me it was sort of like a, you know, a gateway to another dimension, and I'm thinking like there's going to be weird slimy things and whatnot. It wasn't that at all.
No.
And I was like, this is cool because I like things that are believable.
Yes, and this is very, very believable. This is, I hesitate to say this is on a Star Trek level, but the premise, just for the uninitiated, the show Sliders is a group of people that open up a wormhole to another dimension, a parallel universe, if you will. And sometimes...
Well, isn't it more of like a gateway to other parallel dimensions? Because they don't go to the same parallel dimension each time. It's like they kind of hop around from different dimension to different dimension, or different reality to different reality.
Correct. They've traveled to one, and their mission, their purpose is to survive long enough or get by long enough so they can get to the next one and on to the next one until they eventually get home. Their end goal of this show is to get home.
And they don't know when they're going to get home.
They have no idea when they get home. They have no idea what world, what dimension they're going to wind up in. Sometimes a dimension or a world will speak to a particular character, and they'll like, well, maybe this is a place I want to stay in. Maybe this is a dimension I could find home, because we could jump into thousands and thousands of different worlds,
right,
and may never find home again, but maybe this is good enough for home. So sometimes you'll get an episode where a character is like, you know, this may be the place. Let's see how long we get to hang out here, and before we move on to the next one. And that's one of the plot devices, is the device that they use to open up portals, open up wormholes into the next dimension, slide into the next dimension, it will randomly have recharge periods. Sometimes it'll take 6 weeks to go to the next place. Sometimes it'll take 9 days. And yeah, from there on to the next one.
Really cool premise. I'm definitely, I'm not going to say that, I'll be honest, I'm not going to say that I'm going to binge watch a ton of episodes, but I might catch another few.
This is a great show to just watch random episodes, because once you understand the premise, each episode is fantastic as a standalone watchable episode. You don't need a lot of backstory.
Yeah, and I will say that, I went into this knowing zero backstory, and I really enjoyed it. So this is a good show to watch if you've never watched it before and you just want to experience something different. I think this is a great show to check out. I'm
glad. This is one of my favorite episodes. I had this episode picked from weeks ago when we picked the shows to do. And
ironically enough, it kept getting pushed back for whatever reason.
Yeah, but it's relevant.
Yeah,
it's actually relevant to our political climate right now.
Yeah, and so let's go through the particulars here. So we did. So obviously the show is Sliders. The name of the episode is The Weaker Sex. Season 1, Episode 7 of Sliders originally aired on May 3rd, 1995. And Sliders ran originally when it aired for 5 seasons from 1995 to 2000. So nice 5-year run for that show.
Yeah, a lot of this can be seen on this series can be seen on several different platforms. Start to finish, you can see it on Netflix and Hulu both. You can only purchase it. You can only purchase seasons 3, 4, and 5 on iTunes.
Interesting.
Whereas all of them are available on Amazon Video, and of course DVDs are for sale on Amazon.
So you can't buy digitally like the first or second season from iTunes.
You cannot. There are licensing rights, licensing issues that are going on. They were on iTunes. They were pulled for licensing purposes.
How interesting.
Yes.
And for those who may not know, stuff on Netflix, and I believe this would be true for Hulu, is not always going to be there.
No, it is not.
Because one question that I've been asked before is, now that these streaming services are out, and you've got Netflix and Hulu for video, you've got like Apple Music and Pandora and Spotify and all that for music, why are people still buying their content? And the reason for that is these streaming sites do not keep that content there forever. So if you genuinely, truly like a show, like the way that I feel about Knight Rider and Frasier, I bought all of the episodes of Knight Rider and Frasier so that I would have them for, the rest of my natural life, because I don't want to one day go on Netflix and find out that they've pulled Knight Rider and now I can't watch it anymore.
Yeah, and that has happened.
Yeah.
That has happened.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at scrolling through Netflix and Hulu and seeing what's available. Oh, let me add that to the queue. Oh, let me add that to my list, and then never going back to it. I've got a ton of movies and shows that I meant to go back.
And there's a good chance that those things that you put on your list are now no longer on your list.
There are definitely shows that are on there. Like I had Garfield, the cartoon on there, and that's left and came back a couple times.
Let's do a little comeback here. Let's come back and do a little quick business.
Let's do some business. Yes.
Do some business. Okay. So really quick, just want to give a shout out to JB Recording. That is the recording studio that we like to call home. We record our podcasts here and prepare them for you fine people. So thanks to JB Recording for your wonderful hospitality. If you guys need any kind of music production needs, if you need anything worked on or any kind of music stuff done, go to jbrecording.com and contact them over there and they can help you out. You can find us, tune in next week. You can find us on Tumblr. It's our main base of operations there, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. And then you can find us on a number of other places, like we are also on the TuneIn app. If you go to tunein.com, download the TuneIn app for your phone, you can listen to us on there. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. We're on YouTube. Still trying to get as many subscribers as we can on YouTube. So that we can get our YouTube address. So please subscribe to us if you can find us on YouTube. We're also on SoundCloud, TuneIn_next week. And, of course, the big one, Twitter, TuneIn_next week. So please hit us up anywhere you'd like to reach out to us. We love hearing from fans, and we love hearing from listeners. And we just genuinely appreciate everybody that supports us and listens to us.
And if you like to see funny pictures related to the shows we do,
if you'd like to see Brian go through puberty,
follow us on Instagram.
That's right.
TuneIn_next week.
That's right. TuneIn_next week.
And that concludes our business.
It does. So with that, let's jump into our plot synopsis.
Our plot synopsis.
Our plot synopsis for this week's episode, which I've got it written down here. Do you have it written down?
I do not. No, I can pull it up quickly, though.
I can read it if you like.
Please do.
I will. So plot synopsis. In a world. Okay, if it starts with in a world, I can't just read it like that.
Can you do the inner world voice?
In a world where women dominate authority and traditional gender roles are reversed, Professor Arturo becomes the first male candidate for mayor. Although initially welcoming of the advances of a powerful woman, Rembrandt laments the manner in which he is tricked and used.
I love it. I love it, dude.
Thank you.
Have you seen the movie on Netflix called In a World? Yeah, we talked about this. Yes.
Yes, great movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
Definitely one I want to buy because if it disappears, I will be sad.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's jump in here. So we start out with some pretty psychedelic graphics. You know, there was I got to say that some of the early '90s CG work was actually pretty entertaining.
Reminiscent of Doctor Who. If you're a Doctor Who watcher,
Never seen it.
You should, just for the historical context.
Yeah.
It's been around for ages and ages. It's a good show.
Yeah.
We may cover it, may not. We'll see. Yeah, the opening is very Doctor Who-esque in the fact where we're kind of first person traveling through the wormhole.
Yeah.
The gang is dropped out onto a forest floor, and everybody's kind of mad at Quinn and yelling at him like he has any control over this. I don't quite remember how this all plays out, but I'm given the impression based off of everyone's relationship with each other that Quinn is the person that is, and plus he's the guy that holds the remote.
Yeah, I got the feeling like they were all students in like the same science class, and the professor is like their teacher.
Yeah, Arturo.
Yeah, and I got a kick out of this because literally the episode opens and you see them just sort of drop out of the sky.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz.
You know, and it's like literally like somebody picked up a pen and dropped it on the floor. It's like boink, you know. And I mean, that's a shitty way to travel. It is.
Yeah. And you also get the impression from the conversation that they come out from different angles every time. Sometimes it opens up in air. Sometimes it opens up on the wall or in the floor.
Yeah.
You get the impression that they've got to be in a location and look out for the wormhole because it's going to open up somewhere.
Well, yeah, because even when they were leaving this one, they jumped into the floor.
Yes.
So does that mean we can assume that they plop out of the wormhole from above on the next one, or from the floor again? You know, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen episodes where they walk into a wall because it just opens up into a wall, but it also opens up into open air sometimes as well.
Yeah,
as we naturally see.
Right.
But they fall down,
and everybody's like, "Ow!" You know, and they're hurt. Their butts are hurting.
Quinn's girlfriend Wade. It's
a girl named Wade.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, well. She recognizes the forest, which I think is wild. They wind up in San Francisco, where they're from, and she recognizes the forest. I think there's a pretzel stand nearby. Let's take this trail and let's go out to the pretzel stand. So they go out to the pretzel stand, and everything looks normal. They're like, I think we're home, guys. I think we're finally home. So Arturo, who loves food, loves to eat, says, let's go get this pretzel.
Yeah.
So they go up and they get the pretzel, and they squabble over who's going to pay for it, how much it is, how they split it up.
Yeah.
They eventually split it up, and there's a little funny exchange there.
And the guy at the pretzel stand has a TV on, and he says, "Oh, well, the president's about to speak." And then the girl in the Wade goes, "Oh, President Clinton." Like, yeah. So you're thinking, Bill Clinton's going to get up on there. No. It's some woman.
Yeah, and they draw it out, too, because the vendor is just like, yeah, Clinton, it's crazy that Clinton's married that loudmouth. It's no wonder the Republicans are taking over, blah, 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 blah. Which was, and I remember this, the climate in 1995 when Bill Clinton was president.
Yeah.
My dad was really not a fan of Bill Clinton at the time.
Wow.
But, yeah, so who comes on the TV but a pretty reasonable Hillary Clinton impersonator.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
President of the United States, 1995.
Right. And just a little bit of side trivia, Hillary Clinton was offered to make the cameo role.
Yes,
and she declined.
was. And she declined. And I really would be interested in knowing why.
Yeah.
But that's going to lead me to a different... You know what? No, I'm going to take this now.
Do it.
So, Hillary Clinton in this world, which is a world dominated by females. There was an event...
Not only is it dominated, I'm sorry to cut you off, but not only dominated, it's like a complete role reversal.
That's exactly right.
You know? So like including a stereotype reversal too, because we're going to see later on, but like everything that you typically see men do, women are doing. And then vice versa. Everything you see women doing, men are doing.
When the gang first came out of the forest and came up on the pretzel stand, Bernie's pretzel stand, you see men walking around holding children, pushing strollers.
Right, but now so this makes me wonder though, why, if women are the powerful ones, why was it a man still running the pretzel stand? Wouldn't you think it would have been some woman?
That's a good point.
Because if men are the women equivalent, you know, like you figure a guy, you know, maybe who just immigrated to the United States, or maybe a guy that's just starting his own business might be running a pretzel stand, whereas, you know, in this life, a woman could be CEO of a company.
Right, and the impression I get is somebody owns a food truck, somebody owns a food stand, newspaper stand, whatever. It's usually male run because it's their business.
Right.
And, you know, as males being the quote-unquote dominant sex, they're the ones that typically are the business owners. So that's something I didn't think about, and that's interesting that you bring that up. I would think that would be like a woman running that pretzel stand.
Yeah, you know, like maybe a woman wearing the same kind of, you know, costume and so forth. You know, just an average Jane. You know, instead of an average Joe.
What was interesting is just the roles were reversed. The costumes, the outfits, everything seemed to remain the same except for the
roles.
No, the roles were reversed. It's just women still dress like women, men still dress like men. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So the gang's shocked that Hillary Clinton is the president. Jerry O'Connell, I made a note of this. He just happens to pull out like an almanac, or not an almanac, but an encyclopedia or something, and happens to just say, "Oh, it's crazy. There's Susan B. Anthony was one of the previous presidents." And
well, this was after the title sequence, and
you're right.
And I guess one could assume that he could have bought it at this pretzel stand, because didn't the pretzel stand look like a newsstand, or wasn't there like a newsstand next to it?
No, you're right. The pretzel stand did have newspapers and books there. So
yeah.
I just was he just gets.
It wasn't clear how he got a hold of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but now that you mention it, I do. Yeah, it was not just a pretzel stand. They also sold periodicals.
It was like a Hudson News.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, President Clinton speaks. I didn't really remember what she said, but
nothing important.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then I just have a note. I have a note here about how, you know, the professor describes, you know, everything in the world is opposite. Women are in power and men are second-class citizens. I found that interesting because, like, me personally, in our current world, I don't believe women are second-class citizens. I don't believe they're any less than we are. But I mean, society still works that way. But you know, me personally, I don't believe that.
Yeah, we're really gonna start treading on some tricky territory here, because I am really not that versed in this area of history. especially March being Women's History Month, which I would hope I should be, but we'll take it as it comes, I guess.
And I mean, I'm sure I can speak for you when I say, I am a firm believer that in equal opportunity and everything, men and women are equal.
Yeah, men, women, everyone across the board, race, gender, creed, all equal.
Right.
Let's just put that out there right now, and I just want to apologize in advance for any gaffes that I may make in this conversation that we're about to have.
Yeah, we're just gonna set it out for the record that we are in support of everybody.
Yes.
Tune in next week loves everybody, and we hope that everybody loves Tune In next week.
Of course. Oh, that's well said.
Thank you.
But
I should be a politician. Okay, so then we find out also that they are going to be there for 6.5 weeks, so they obviously need to find jobs and need to find some way to make money so that they can survive for 6.5 weeks.
Yes, which is one of the things I forgot but really appreciate, is because the fact that they are in this society for an unknown amount of time, they find out, oh, we're going to be here for this long. We got to find jobs. We have to integrate. We have to kind of blend in and coexist until we can get out of here.
Right.
And in that time, we find out if we want to stay or not.
Yeah, and I find it kind of funny that, like, I know that when you and I applied to work for the company that we work for, it's not just oh, hi, you're a physical body, you can come to work. There's like the background checks, and there's a hiring process, and you have to have like a physical address. How do they overcome these things if they're just sort of like time traveling or world traveling passers through,
especially when they're doing the type of jobs that they get into in this world.
Right.
So they get away from the pretzel stand. They say, we have to get money. We have to stay at a hotel. We're tired, cranky, hungry. Let's see what we can do to find jobs. So they're outside of this, what looks like a museum. And it was funny to me that one of the statues that's prominent out front is a naked woman with bare breasts.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was just kind of, just a prominent statue, marble statue out front of this museum or state house building or whatever, but it was just a prominently naked woman.
Was she wearing a leaf?
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
Wow.
Kind of sitting like the Thinker, the classic, the statue of the Thinker.
Yeah.
Kind of sitting like that, but with her arms on her knees rather than her head resting on a fist.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to make note of that. But Rembrandt is busking for everybody else. So he's out front singing, hat out in hand, collecting money, and Jerry O'Connell, the character Quinn, is calling looks like classifieds to the newspaper, trying to find work, and the only work he's being offered is nanny positions and nude male model.
So, right there, objectifying the man.
Already, yes.
It's just really very interesting episode. So, and then you find out that Rembrandt has been singing for 4 hours and he made $7.
Yeah, he sings a bit longer. They get some money. They get they get a hotel room. They're hanging out, and the girl Wade, who we find out through conversation is Quinn's girlfriend. She comes in and she got a job doing what would she do?
Overseeing computer installation for the mayor.
Yes, which is
like high-level corporate IT job.
Get me this job.
Yeah, and she even got a cash advance.
Yes.
So I mean, it's like, what job have you ever applied for that gives you a cash advance?
Man, woman, whatever. To just walk in, apply for a job off the street at the mayor's office.
Get it that same day.
That same day, and a cash advance. Of course, it's 1995, right. So
I don't know how much I buy that.
Yeah, it's hard for me to swallow that she's just gonna walk in and just say, "Hey, hire me."
I feel like she probably would have had more luck going in there and saying, "Hi, I'm on a TV show and I just slid in here from another alternate time zone. I need cash and a job. Can you hook me up?"
And they did.
Yeah.
And they did.
Now we're over at the mayor's office because the other people are trying to get jobs, and Quinn is in there. He goes in and talks to the mayor's executive assistant, and she's obviously behaving kind of like a, Wall Street guy, but she's behaving like a, oh, well, I understand you're Wade's boyfriend. Oh, tell her she's got good taste. All right, yeah. Like, it reminded me of Michael Douglas from Wall Street.
Did he? Yeah, really. Did Quinn apply for a data analyst? Or was it data entry?
Yeah, I don't recall which position he applied for, though.
I feel like it was data analyst, and he said, "Can I get the data analyst job?" And she said, "Oh, you can get the data entry job. Can you type?" And he's like, "Yeah, isn't that what that's about?" And she's like, "Oh, you can type. Well, yeah, honey, that's a bonus.
A handsome man who can type."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is Quinn we're talking about. We haven't gotten to the professor
Jerry
yet.
O'Connell, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, just, remember at the end of the episode I told you it was kind of confusing?
Uh-huh.
I think what I meant to say was it was just weird to see that role reversal.
It was, I knew what was going to happen.
Sure.
And his reaction was, I don't know. I think I would have had the same reaction because she looked him up and down like, yeah, kind of like a Mad Men era show.
Yeah.
Who's hiring a secretary? He's like, yeah, you'll be a good secretary.
Yeah.
And I half expected her to walk across the room and slap Jerry's ass.
Well, we'll get to that later with Rembrandt.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Before that though.
Yeah. So let's talk about Professor. The Professor. I made a note that he just loves the sound of his own voice.
He really does. His
long-windedness was getting a little bit annoying.
Oh, I liked it.
It's endearing in one sense, but it's annoying on the other side because he was a little bit too fluffy at some point.
He was put down. Fluff is an adjective. That's funny you said that.
Yeah.
That's a word that I use to describe him. But they were in the elevator going up to the interview, and some women come into the elevator, and Arturo's like, "Oh, let me push the button for you, ladies. Chivalry's not dead. Oh, you're a very a fine-looking woman. Can I take you out to a candlelit dinner?" Just laying it on thick.
Yeah.
And turns out that's the mayor, and she's like, "I don't like fat men, I don't like men with beards, and I don't like phony English accents. Otherwise, maybe you would have had a chance."
And I looked up, apparently that actor who plays Arturo is actually from Wales.
So that's as...
So I don't know that it's a phony English accent.
Oh, it's not. That's as authentic as you can get.
Yeah. So he strikes out hitting on the mayor, so that was kind of funny to watch.
But then they left him cooling in the waiting room, and he's just complaining about women not kind of abusing their power over the male sex, and just kind of railing against women in general.
Right.
And there was a dude in there who turned out to be a journalist. He's like, I'm interested in your views. You should come to a dinner later. We've got some things that I'd like to talk to you about. And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah. So after that, Quinn gets the job. They all go downstairs. Arturo is approached by the journalist again. He said, "Come to dinner with us." So they go to like a bar, and I say bar, but it looks like a beer hall. It just looks like a lot of like picnic benches with dudes lined up around them drinking beer.
Something stereotypically male.
Yes.
Whereas, like, if this were a group of women, they could be, they could be at a spa, or they could be someplace.
Yes.
Where that would be stereotypically women, where they would talk about something like this.
So it's funny that even though there are gender role reversals, some of the stereotypes are still holding true.
They are, yeah.
Males bonding in the bar over beers, but yeah, and Arturo at this dinner is just like chomping away on chicken wings, and there are a couple other dudes around that same table just puffing away on cigars.
Yeah.
Too. So like it's funny that the dichotomy.
Yeah. Well, the stereotypes are still there.
Yeah, they're there, but some of them are kind of reversed too.
Yeah.
It's
weird.
Weird. It is weird. It's really weird.
So you find out that this group of guys that the professor is having dinner with are evidently like a men's rights group and trying to get equal rights for men in the workplace and so forth. And they are basically they want Arturo to run for mayor of the city to bring about equal rights for men in the workplace.
It's a grassroots movement.
Yeah.
That's a definition of a grassroots movement of bringing a candidate up from nothing to get him to be a major player in a political political movement.
Right. So, and he's like, what, me? Really? And they're saying, well, you're the perfect man for the job and blah, blah, blah. And then, you start to see over the course of the episode while he's campaigning, people are just throwing it in his face. Like, you got to be kidding me, blah, blah, blah. But he takes the challenge.
Yeah. This apparently, when he goes back to the hotel room after the dinner, it sounds like that this is against one of the group's core rules.
Yeah.
Which is assimilate, blend, kind of coexist, keep a low profile until we can get out of here and move on. But
kind of like the Prime Directive in Star Trek.
Yes, exactly. That's where I was going. So he is going against that and is like, yeah, this is not right. This is something that we kind of overcame with women in our world. I feel that this is something that should be addressed.
Right.
I don't want to back down from this. And Wade calls him out on this later, but I definitely feel his ego had a large hand to play in it.
Of course.
But I don't feel that there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either.
Granted, your ego shouldn't get in the way of yourself. However, if it's a contributing factor towards changing something for the quote-unquote greater good, which in this case is equal rights for both genders, I think that's admirable.
I agree. But then the question is it the greater good? Because these people have been going on a certain way throughout their entire lives.
Yes.
So it's really, it's something that we may or may not have a definitive answer to.
We don't have a lot of backstory. I mean, we've got enough backstory, but Wade, in one of the later scenes, she calls Arturo out. It's like, your ego, you're doing this because of ego.
Right.
I'm looking at these history books, and women took over because men kept going to war and men kept dying. So
right.
While they were out at war, women took over. Now there's barely any violence and there's no war any longer.
Right.
So you're meddling in something that's probably working out for the best. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So I can see both sides. I can see Wade's point. I can see Arturo's point.
Yeah, absolutely. This is certainly one of those episodes that I would encourage you to watch. This is one of those episodes I would encourage everyone to watch because it covers so many things that could be very near and dear to so many of us.
Yeah. We really need to talk about Rembrandt.
Yeah, we do. So Rembrandt is outside busking again, and some woman rolls up in a pink Porsche. Yeah. Now, I made a note of something before he go. So this woman, okay, so Rembrandt is outside busking, singing again with his hat out, and this woman in a pink Porsche convertible pulls up in front of him and stops. Right before he goes to talk to her, a guy walks past him, drops a couple of cents or a couple of dollars in his hat and says, "You're beautiful."
You're beautiful.
I don't know.
It's true.
I don't know if it was the same guy, but I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, she pulls up. We find out her name is Serena Braxton, and she is a music business person who invites Rembrandt to lunch and says, "Hey, you got a great voice, and I want to see if I can help you out." And of course, Rembrandt is like, hell yeah, I'm going to do this. Some woman is propositioning me in a pink Porsche. She obviously knows what she's doing, so he jumps in the car with her and goes off with her. And then we see Arturo back, and he's in a mall trying to get votes and trying to get people to side with him, and just struggling clearly with it.
Yeah, and this was weird to me because he's out there passing out flyers. Hey, Arturo, Maximilian Arturo, running for mayor, and one of the ladies that he passes out to, she's like, a man for mayor? Get real. So then he just kind of like curses at her.
Yeah.
He doesn't like curse at her. This is an NBC show.
Yeah.
But he like curses at her.
I forget what he called her, but it was like
a heifer or something?
No. It was like not like ignoramus, but it was like some intelligent insult.
It was something like that. And she turns around and she looks like she's gonna come back and clock him. So the I guess who is Arturo's like manager? It's guy,
the journalist guy,
that journalist guy, Danny.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Danny.
he's saying like, hey, we need to schmooze with these people to get their votes. We need teaching them how to be a politician. And he's like, you got to go kiss a few babies. And there's a man holding a baby, and he goes, sir, excuse me, I need to kiss your baby.
And the guy starts running away.
Which I would too.
Yeah, yes.
If I had some guy going, excuse me, sir, I need to kiss your baby.
And he runs after him.
No.
He runs after him. Let me kiss your baby. Let me kiss your baby.
Yeah, that's going to go over really well. But
we literally go back to the hotel room. Wade gives us the history lesson. Arturo takes issue with it. Wells takes issue with it. But then we go back to Rembrandt.
Now, is this in the morning or the evening?
This is the evening.
Go ahead, tell us about this.
Rembrandt I guess, had lunch with her, and they spent the day together. Now they're back at her place, and he's like eating what looks like dessert. It looks like a yogurt or
tiramisu
parfait.
or something.
Yeah, like from like a sundae glass or something.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I've never been treated this well, and
somebody who cooks for me, and she's like, I didn't cook for you. This is catering. What are you kidding?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
Because he thinks she cooked for him, and she's like, I'm not going to cook for you. Are you kidding?
She paid for some exotic meal.
Catering.
Yeah.
Which is, it's fine and all, but I don't know. I took it as like a slight.
Yeah.
But so he's concentrating on the food, and she's like, so Arturo, tell me a bit more about yourself. And he's like, well,
Rembrandt.
Oh, yes, Rembrandt.
She's like, so Rembrandt, tell me more about yourself. And they walk their way over to the couch. She's grabbing his ass the whole time. She's grabbing
his ass, and then she starts kissing on his ear. And he's like, but Serena, what about the music industry? When are we going to meet the music producers? She's like, oh, I'll do that for you. But first, you got to do something. All in good time. Yeah. First, you got to do something for me. And strongly implying oral sex.
Of course.
Take care of my rabbit, Rembrandt.
Yes. Double click my mouse, Rembrandt.
My little bunny.
Yeah, whatever it is that she wants him to do.
So she strongly implies that, and as they slowly fade to fade into the next scene, which is Arturo.
We're at the campaign headquarters.
Yeah, at the Arturo's campaign headquarters. So he is really getting his name out there.
He's got a whole staff.
Yeah, he's got a whole staff doing stuff for him. They're running his campaign commercial. You know what? We skipped over Quinn at the Ross campaign.
I thought that was right after this.
It was right before.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're presenting things a little bit out of order, but we're still covering everything. So while Arturo's over at his campaign office, we go to a quick scene over with Wade and Quinn at the mayor's office.
The Ross campaign.
Right. The Mayor Ross, who is trying to stay in office, obviously. And she comes up with this ridiculous anti-Arturo commercial, typical political slander.
Yeah, it's pretty typical political slander. Would you say it's anti-man?
I don't know. I didn't get that from that.
I thought I caught slight vibes from it, but it wasn't overt. So it does stay in line with typical political slander. If we're making parallels to real life, it attacks his character. It says he's got no credentials. This guy just came out of nowhere. He says he's a professor. Who is this guy? Can a man really run the country?
Which most of it is true because he did just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, all of it's true.
Right. He has credentials in a different life.
Yeah.
He doesn't have credentials in their lifetime, so they have nothing to go on. So
yeah. So they bring Quinn in on this, and they say, Quinn, what do you think of this campaign? And he's like, you know what, Wade, can I talk to you outside, girlfriend? They go outside, and he's like, I don't like this. We're going too far. Arturo is getting too enmeshed in this society. We need to get him out of this. So I'm going to quit and go talk to him. Right. So he quits and goes over to the campaign, to Arturo's campaign. They're looking at his commercial, and his commercial is bonkers. He is on a playground playing with children. Yeah. He's talking to old ladies. He's holding children, one child in each arm, like toddlers, like saying hi to him and stuff. He's in front of a classroom, in front of a blackboard. This guy is everywhere. How long have they been here? 6.5 weeks? Not even 6.5. If that.
Probably 4 weeks.
It's probably 4 weeks. And he is every goddamn where with a camera crew.
Yeah.
With a camera crew.
But he's campaigning as if he's like the first lady.
Yes. Yes. Who is this guy?
Yeah. And his whole campaign plan is like, I care, so you should vote for me.
Right. And this is where I brought up fluff. So, oh my God.
So let's take a listen to his campaign speech because this is hilarious.
Bonkers.
Yeah, bonkers.
So,
a man, a dream, a vision. Professor Maximilian Arturo, a new kind of leader, a sensitivity to the needs of all people, regardless of gender, political affiliation, or race.
I am running because I really care. I favor the good things in life. I oppose the bad things in life. A vote for Arturo means you care too. Together, we can make a difference.
Paid for by the Arturo Formation.
I don't believe that anyone has ever captured my essence so beautifully.
So that happens.
God, crazy.
His campaign speech is full of nothing words and sentences, just trying to get you to like him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then at that point, something happens.
Oh, Jerry O'Connell comes in and tries to talk him out of it. What you're thinking of happens just a little bit later.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
So somebody throws a brick through the window.
Throws a brick through the window, yeah.
And then a phone call happens. The Arturo picks up the phone, gets on the phone, and you find out it's a woman, and she says, next time it'll be a bomb.
Yes.
Which, a man would do that in this day and age, so just more of that role reversal.
Yes, exactly. So that's, it's a woman's voice on the phone.
Right.
So after that, we go back to Rembrandt, and I love this story arc here.
Yeah.
He wakes up in the morning after, I guess, given the business.
He was taking Serena to the Bone Zone.
They went to the Bone Zone, and a guy like Rembrandt, I'd imagine he took her there first class.
I would think so.
You know what? No. He was taken there first class.
Right.
Because you know what? He woke up in the morning. There was a little note on the nightstand with a rose on it.
Right.
He was into it. He loved it.
Yeah.
Whenever sniffed the rose, read the note, totally into it. Mm-hmm. Helped himself to a robe and slippies. Walked around and helped himself to coffee. Made breakfast.
Right.
And there's a knock on the door.
Right.
So what happens next? He goes and he answers the door. Oh, Serena, you're back. You want some afternoon delight? Opens up the door. Who is it?
Serena's boyfriend.
This guy strides in and is like, who are you? And what are you doing in my robe?
Now, I was expecting an all-out brawl between the two.
So was I!
But no, we get a freaking Oprah moment.
Yes. So the guy comes in and just kind of glosses over the fact that the strange man in my girlfriend's apartment wearing my robe and slippies.
But then you find out that they're broken up, so it's like, why is the ex-boyfriend going over, and why does he care about who his ex-girlfriend is stooping now?
He breaks down and cries and says, oh, my therapist says I get myself into abusive relationships. Oh, it's so terrible. I need to get myself out of this. He pulls himself together. All right, Rembrandt. Don't fall in her trap. She's conniving. She'll steal your soul and never give it back, boyfriend. Never give it back, boyfriend.
Yeah.
And takes his leave. I don't know women who would behave that way to each other.
Exactly.
I don't know a woman who would show back up to the ex-boyfriend's house and see the new girlfriend or the new one-night stand and be that cordial with them.
Right.
I don't know. I don't believe that would happen.
I agree.
So this is just Rembrandt
It's
was
bonkers.
as taken aback as we were.
Right.
Just inexplicable.
Yeah, and then he says, "I need a drink."
I need a drink.
Yeah.
I'll drink to that. Mm-hmm. Fucking sliders.
Yeah, this is a fucking great show. Okay, so now we see Arturo coming out of some office building.
Yes.
And there's an attempt made on his life.
Yeah, so he comes out and
with women's Secret Service agents around him, I might add.
Yes, he had women bodyguards. He also had the male dudes, the male grassroots movement dudes.
Right, but like there were 4 women in trench coats around him.
Did this seem similar to the attempt on President Ronald Reagan's life?
Yes, it did.
Did you see that in the moment, or
I thought about it shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
It
was. I felt it was wasn't like a shot for shot, but it was similar.
Pretty damn close.
Pretty damn close. They were doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
So that was crazy, but it turns out Arturo was definitely shot.
Was he?
Yeah, in his arm. Because they went back to the hotel room and Wade was dressing it, and Arturo
I feel like it was like a flesh wound or something. It wasn't a serious wound.
It was definitely a flesh wound.
Yeah.
It was just, he was grazed in the arm, but, being shot.
Being shot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
So Wade makes the point that he's gone too far. He's got to get out of it. And he's like, I can't just drop out of the race. I can't just drop out. I've committed time. There's a movement going already.
Right.
He equates himself to Martin Luther King marching on Selma. Maybe not at this scene, but he does make that comparison.
Right.
Which I take a little bit of issue with. I would say that the women's rights issue is not as severe as the black rights issue.
Yeah.
Then again, I may be out of line speaking on that, but they're two. Race and gender are two different things. Granted, similar in its seriousness, but I would be hesitant to make that comparison.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, but
I would agree with that. So now we are at the debate. And this debate was...
Yes.
I mean, so much more of Arturo's bonkersness comes out here because he decides that he's not just going to he can't just drop out of the race. He's going to pull, I forget what he called it, but he's going to pull something.
A muskie,
where he just weeps uncontrollably when he's asked a certain question to hopefully make himself look more fragile and not as strong of a leader. And he basically breaks down and tells the mayor that she's a bully, and he's like, your words have hurt me so much and I just can't go on. I'm sorry. And he just walks off. And I mean, like, why?
Well, the thing is, he's basing this off of I think it's a senator, Edward Muskie, who in 1972 was in some election. I forget. I'm trying to look it up, but he was in an election.
Is that true, or is that just made up for the story?
No, it's true.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's definitely true. So he was in a debate and was asked some personal question that kind of put him off balance to the point where he became upset and cried. So because he became upset during this debate, he was seen as weak and not taken seriously, so he completely lost the election. So Arturo sought to take the same tactic.
Right.
However, and he did take the same tactic.
Right.
So I'm using air quotes now, this debate, which wasn't even really a debate, it was just Ross saying her side, Arturo saying his side. So Ross came out and said your standard political debate stuff
Right.
for the softball question.
Right.
And Arturo went and did his thing, but he did not take into account the fact that he was a man in a role reversed situation against a woman in a role reversed situation. So when he broke down and cried, he had the opposite effect, the opposite intended effect.
Right.
So he wanted to be seen as weak and taken out of the race, but instead he unintentionally made himself look more human, more relatable,
Right.
and got himself more votes.
Right. So exactly what he was not wanting to do.
The opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite effect.
I mean, to be honest, that wasn't the best plan to begin with, but that's another discussion altogether.
Yeah.
So now I think we're over to the campaign headquarters where everybody's kind of tallying the votes, right?
Not quite. We kind of skipped over the last part of Rembrandt's story where he's still at home. Serena comes home. She's like, "Hey, you want to get down?" And he's like, "No. What about this other dude?" She's like, I'm a free agent. It's okay that we see other people. That's why you're here, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's okay. But what about my music career?" She's like, "I'm not really a music executive. That's really not really going to happen. This conversation's kind of weak. I'm going to head out. I'll be back later tonight." And Rembrandt's like, "But I made dinner. I slaved over this beef stroganoff." And she's like, nah, I'm good. You can get the fuck out."
I think the conversation went a little bit differently, but that was the gist of it.
That's the gist of it. Yeah. She's like,
and he's like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, he is fuck this. She kind of gave him the get the fuck out vibe, but he really, in the end, he was like, "You know what? I'm good. I'm getting out of here.
I'm done." Yeah.
So he comes back to Rembrandt's. Rembrandt comes back to Arturo's campaign, meets up with Jerry, and then they kind of give him the whole, "Well, I'm going to do the Ed Muskie," and then the debate happens. So the debate happens. They go upstairs. They go back to Arturo headquarters. And CNN comes in with the exit polls, and they project Ross to be the winner.
So Arturo lost, and they're like, "Okay, this is great. Now we can," and it just so happens now it's time for their jump to the next dimension. So this is great because they can say, "Cool, we'll leave. You lost. We didn't have any negative effect, and we're all good."
Yes, and everyone's asking like, "You're cool with this, Arturo? Do you want to come with us when we slide, or do you want to stay here?" And Arturo's like, "I'm not quite sure yet. So then they say, "All right, you lost." And he's like, "All right, I'm going with everybody."
Yeah.
So they go. The guy goes down to write Arturo's concession speech. The portal opens up. Everybody jumps in. One of my favorite lines is Arturo takes off his Arturo button and tosses it up. And he's like, "With my luck, it'll land on edge." It falls down. He jumps through the portal. Portal closes. I guess Arturo's campaign manager comes back in, says, you won. It turns out CNN was wrong. Everybody voted for you. You won.
Yeah. But he's already gone.
Everyone's already gone, and there's nothing left in the room except the Arturo button facing up.
Wow.
And then
roll credits.
Well, not quite. They wind up in a tropical island for 9 days.
Yeah.
Arturo made like a side bet with Wade saying, if I win the election, I'll be
your slave for the next slide.
Yeah, well, yeah, something like that. So it turns out Wade has a slave in Arturo for the next 9 days.
Nice.
So it was great. I really like that. I really like the episode. And it's pretty relevant to what's going on these days.
Yeah, absolutely. With all the people running, I don't want to mention names, of course, but with everyone that's running and all the shenanigans that are going on and so forth, it seemed like a really good pick for this week. So good call on that.
A random pick that turned out to be
super relevant.
Super relevant.
Yeah. So let's talk about highlights and lowlights real quick before we wind things up here.
Yeah. You go first. What's your highlight for this episode?
Well, I am going to say that my highlight was, even though I kind of said that the professor, liked the sound of his own voice and everything, I'm going to say that I kind of really enjoyed seeing the professor in this particular episode. Sort of how he was sort of acting like this sage, wise man, but he wasn't perfect, and he wasn't a know-it-all. He just kind of sounded intelligent, a little bit of a gas bag, but like a likable gas bag.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed seeing him. He was kind of my favorite part of the episode.
Nice. I'm not quite going to share that with you. I liked the social undertones of this episode. It was my highlight, especially the attempts on his life, the threats, the brick through the window. I didn't like all of the social commentary. I mentioned the comparison to Dr. Martin Luther King. Didn't quite like that, but I liked the whole concept, the whole idea of they're here in this world. Let's make a difference. Let's not just be social bystanders. Let's not just coexist. Let's make a difference. And the implications of that after they're gone is I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like it opened itself for a sequel, because you want to know if somebody got elected instead of Arturo, and if it brought about power for men.
Yeah. Well,
makes you wonder.
It does. I wonder about that, because now that he's gone, the next person, they'll look high and low for him. They can't find him. Well, the next mayor of San Francisco is going to be Ross, but that inspires future generations,
right.
future candidates. That's what change is all about.
Right. And I'm hoping that, just to draw a parallel to our situation right now in 2016, I hope something like that kind of happens.
Yeah.
Because a certain candidate is known for being very brash and speaking his mind and not holding back and not behaving like a typical politician. And then we have some other typical politicians, but maybe this person will not be elected, but at least this person can inspire other politicians to speak more frankly, and more from sort of the heart.
Yeah.
How about a downside? What was your low light?
My low light is going to be the inconsistencies in the role reversals. We addressed this a little earlier in the episode. One of the funny things was the character Quinn had a conversation with some of the other secretaries in the Ross campaign's office. He kind of took offense to some of the things the guys were saying. It's like, I don't want to be in charge. A woman's much better to be in charge. She cycles once a month. I cycle every 20 minutes. You expect Amanda to fly a plane? And he's like, why not? Why can't a man fly a plane? If they're going to do... I wish they had committed more to the role reversals than they did. The outfits, the mannerisms. It's really hard for me to find a low light, but if I had to pick one, it's going to be... It seemed like they they cherry picked some of the aspects of the stereotypes and role reversals. I would have liked to have seen men at spas getting their nails done rather than being at the beer hall. That's my low light.
I agree with you that they only took certain stereotypes of men and ran with those, and it was always all the negative ones. You know, they didn't you know, like you said, they didn't have men at the spa getting their nails done or getting like massages or anything. They didn't have like, you know, men working on cars. Like, men happen to be very loyal people too.
Yeah.
You know, so like they didn't have anyone kind of exemplifying that sort of, you know, never leave a fallen soldier on the battlefield kind of thing. You know, like the real loyalty aspect of that a lot of men have. You know, I mean, so I think if I were to sort of put my own spin on the low light thing, it would be that there were holes in the role reversal. Also with, like in the very beginning, how we were talking about how like the pretzel stand owner was a man. You know,
Yeah.
if it was a complete role reversal, it would have been some woman.
Yeah.
So I think there were holes in the role reversals. Like I wasn't quite sold on it until they explained it later in the episode as far as what the essence of that world was.
Yeah. They took the promiscuity stereotype of men and put that on Serena, and they ran with that, but they also didn't really expand on men being homemakers. They mentioned it, of course, and they put men in secretarial roles and made them sexual objects and kind of degraded in that sense. But again, it felt like they were cherry picking.
Yeah, and I feel like there was more that they could have drawn from.
Yes, that's the real low light. The fact that they didn't expand on some of these things.
Yeah. But I think that's perfectly valid, and I think it's a good kind of ending point for us here. You know, I think that's just about going to do it for this episode of Tune In next week.
Yeah, should we end there, or?
I think, yeah, that's about all we got.
Okay.
Beautiful thing. Short and sweet. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys listening to us. And, you know, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at tunein_nextweek, on our website, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. And, oh, by the way, as the name implies, hey, tune in next week.
Tune in next week.
That too. Bye.
What if you found a portal to a parallel universe? What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home?